What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access. Today we're joined by Murs. How are you, sir?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Hey, man. Great to have you here as always. And obviously your new album just came out, Captain California.
Yes.
So for this project, and I wanted you to really explain as far as the title, because we've talked about this before, but really integrating kind of the comic themes into this album in a very significant way.
Yeah, it's kind of my attempt to make grander tales or heroes out of everyday people. And this time I chose this to be California. Yeah, telling stories with morals, because I'm a huge comic book fan, and they usually tell stories with morals. And originally, I had the title in mind, but I wasn't for sure until I got in an argument with a guy on a panel at Comic-Con, and he told me that Tupac and Biggie were superheroes, and I said, "You're full of shit." And we kind of got in a tiff, and then he made sense to me and changed my mind. I was like, oh shit, and then he said that I was a superhero because of blah, 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 and I was like, yeah, you know what? Captain California, and definitely wanted to kind of, tell stories, because I feel like that's what I'm good at, and hopefully get a job writing comic books off of this,
Well, there you go.
If you know anybody.
Yeah, I'll put in the work.
Thanks, man.
But you also, one of the things, of course, you're known for telling stories and known for having songs about girls. And one of the things that I liked about Captain California is the blend of that, but also I think really showing a lot more of the storytelling from the street side of things in a very elaborate and innovative ways and different ways, I thought, like with Colossus, for instance.
Yeah.
I liked how you kind of brought a different way of looking at people like that character.
Right.
So for you, what was the origin and genesis of wanting to make that record?
Colossus is about, I have a homeboy that just got locked up for selling a lot of dope, and or allegedly, excuse my French, because he's coming home. Obviously, he's innocent. Allegedly selling a lot of dope, and I was around him a lot. And then my brother, who is huge, 6'4", 350 pounds, he's the guy I'm talking about as far as like can bench 545 pounds. We go to LA Fitness and it's a scene. So I wanted to tell a story about him. And my homie that sells dope is big, but not that big, but just like the big dudes who are flossy and run the block, but are smart too, because you look at a lot of people, like, I could also, like, from my brother actually plays like offensive line, semi-pro, and they're some of the most intelligent people. Whenever you watch football interviews, you notice that. And so, like, the D-boys that are flashy and handsome and like the typical
stereotypical looking dudes,
they aren't the smartest D-boys, but the dudes who aren't as attractive, the big guys, they still get pussy, they still, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to highlight that aspect as far as the glamour aspect of it. And then also tell the moral that, drug dealing still injury. And I also have another homeboy that I think he's gonna have to sit down for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And but I talked to my younger homie about it, and he's like, he's not tripping. He's just, it's part of the game. He knew it was happening. And I always respected dudes like that. Like, if you know what's coming, like, and that's why at the last line of the song is like, when I finally get shot, won't nobody be shocked. And when you know it's coming and you take it like a man, there's nothing better than that to me than just, knowing your lane, playing your role, and you don't tell, you don't try to back out of it.
Right.
You just do your time.
And that's one of the other things I appreciated about the song, is that it's that reality, because as we've talked about over the years, in so much of rap, there's the celebration of the drug culture, both on the consumption side and on the selling side. And I think obviously some people talk about the repercussions of it. Of course, we saw early on in rap with Ice-T, and then many others, and Project Pat's done a great job of doing it through the years too. But that's one of the things I liked about your song. Even LL did it on Fast Peg back in the day. Most people don't remember that or consider that song.
Fast Peg. Wow.
That song's phenomenal. But my point is that I like that you added that element and that layer to Colossus, because I think it's very important, that people understand it's one thing to do or use drugs, but then to really come to grips and deal with the repercussions of it, because they're real.
They're very real, and I think, and I appreciate, like, it's just I can still appreciate the rap that's out there, because some of the rappers celebrate it, because they're still, like, Migos celebrates it, but they're still going to jail. Like there's like, so you see, they don't have to rap about the reality of it because you see it happening to them. You see them.
News.
You see them going to clubs, getting in fights with people who are envying them. You see them going catching cases for defending themselves against people who envy them. So they don't really have to rap about it all the time because they're living it. And I think there is a room for drug dealers in it. And I love what Gucci is doing right now because his narrative is changing, and it's also reflected. You know, they want to talk about drugs, but I can't. Like I was like, this is the real, like, people like that are really, you know, just authentic. I'm not against that kind of rap, but you know, for me, if I'm gonna make shit up, then I'm gonna tell a complete story. And a lot of people are making shit up and just telling one side of it. They're like romance novels for middle-aged white women in the Midwest. That's how a lot of gangster rap is.
Something else that's happening that also isn't getting talked about much in LA and in other major metropolitan cities around the country is the gentrification, which you also address on Captain California, G is for Gentrify. Yeah. And with that record, I thought it was important because I think a lot of times in rap, we get the very surface level of it, of like, oh man, you know, the whites are moving in or the government's doing this or that. But I thought on G is for Gentrify, you kind of made it more human and more realistic as to what's really going on in what was the hood and is now becoming something different. Right. And you know, as we've talked about over the years too, this is something that you've lived through and experienced yourself with your neighborhood and like a lot of things that you've been around. So for you, what made Captain California now the right time for that song to manifest?
As I was telling stories on this album, it felt like a story that needed to be told already. And then I was in an argument with that lady over there one morning and I had to leave her house. And she lives like 10 blocks of the north of the neighborhood I grew up in. So I just started walking. And then I was just seeing, it was like 4 in the morning as it became 5 in the morning. People were coming out of their houses, and this is the house my mom used to own. And I'm like, you guys are renting from us. And these people are looking at me like I'm some piece of shit. I was like, bitch, this is my motherfucking neighborhood. And you know, you see the house that they're trying to sell for 900 grand and it has blood stains, and that's where the homie L got popped. Like I was there, we were shooting dice. Like, you gonna charge me? Like, and it's just crazy. And then how people were looking at me and treating me. And
well, that's something else I think, not only on Captain California, but knowing you and as you've done throughout your career, I think that's impressive. I think you should be saluted for is like having that extra layer of accountability, because I think that's another thing that I think we don't get enough of in rap is like, you know, there's systems against people and all these terrible things. It's all true, but I think it's also like we have to have like a sense of accountability. Yeah. And I think that is, you know, don't get as much of that, I think, as we should, which is why I think a lot of the records on Captain California in particular, I think hit a little harder because you have that extra dimension to it. So with Captain California, what have you noticed maybe that's different on the reaction you've been getting from the fans?
I think it's a similar reaction. I think, you know, as we're transitioning, as I don't try to, I think, reach out. It's a lot of things happening, and just to be honest, that's all I know how to be. Like, I think some of the Strange fans are like, okay, he's never gonna rap fast. He's never gonna smoke a blunt. Okay, so they're kind of not buying the record. And then some of my fans are, I think, finally realized like, oh, okay, he's kind of doing the same shit. But then that's still the same Murs. But then I dropped God Bless Kanye West, and people are like, fuck Kanye. And I'm like, whoa, that's not what it's about. Listen,
that's not what it's about.
And then Lemon Juice comes down and, oh, this is the Murs I love him over, this is the type, you're going back to that Ninth Wonder shit. I'm like, how does Sevens, no sample production have anything to do with, and people are, but I think people like me being vulnerable and funny, like Yesterday and Today, Bad Man, and I'm kind of learning, I think, what they want from me, or completely heartbroken, like Another Round with Chris Calico is the crowd favorite. So if I'm not getting dissed by a girl, I had to be dissed by a girl I'm being sad about it, or dissed by a girl I'm making light of it. But those, like, that's the only way people want to hear me rap.
So why do you think people like hearing you in pain, man?
Yeah, like, fuck if I know, man.
Yeah, that's a weird phenomenon.
But yeah, like Yesterday and Today. So I'm learning the type of stories, you know, after 20 years, I'm learning, I think, what people want to hear from me. Because I've done so much, and people like Colossus as well. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm figuring it out now. But I'm happy with the record. I want more people to listen to it. But there's, you know, G's for Gentrify is getting a good reaction. And yeah, man, I think the reaction has been No one has said, there's been records where people are like, you sold out, what is this bullshit? I haven't got one of those yet, so.
Progress.
Yeah, that's
Progress.
the first. Like, especially in the days of the internet now, because people could tell me on Snapchat, last record, people weren't, you know, there was no Twitch. Now I have Twitch, Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook, and Twitter. So out of all those 5 mediums and instruments people could use to
they haven't got at you yet?
YouTube comments don't count. You're always gonna get shit on YouTube. There's not one video without at least 1 thumbs down.
That's true.
So that I don't count, but on the 5 other platforms, and then I'm sure there's somebody waiting right now. Okay.
Okay, Murs.
So yeah, go ahead and tweet me that you hated the album. But overall, my real fans seem to be genuinely happy if they're willing to give it a chance.
Right. Okay. Well, there it is, man. Appreciate you coming through, Murs.
Thank you.
On Unique Access. He's Murs. I'm Soren Baker. Appreciate y'all tuning in.